Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to Daily Update of my 1000 Day Challenge. This is day 365, so let's get things started. Alright, so yep, it's been fast. It's now completely, I would say, it's a year since I've been doing this challenge itself, because this is day 365 itself. Alright, so with that said, the balance actually increased a little bit in terms of from yesterday to today, and that's purely based on the experimental trade setup, where I went in terms of long for both Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Link. So Link actually went in terms of profit. That was the last trade. Yesterday went in terms of profit for Ethereum, but lost for Bitcoin itself. So which is why I say sometimes it really depends on the currency itself. So Bitcoin did actually have a stronger pullback before push towards the upside, which triggered my stop loss before it could hit the target profit itself. So there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so otherwise, in terms of daily market structure update itself, this is a Saturday. So on a weekly basis itself, just move over all the way to S&P 500. So if you see in terms of the weekly chart itself, things still looks to be really bullish. We are looking a little bit overextended on the 20 exponential moving average on the weekly chart. So potentially we could have something like this and then consolidation itself before we go to higher high. So this could potentially be another scenario that we can see again. So that's another potential. All right, so secondly, on the Nasdaq itself, what you do see over here is a continuation similarly on higher high after this breakout, and we have in theory actually hit the 1:1 extension region itself. So potentially we do face any retracement pullback. In my opinion, it will still be healthy as long as very much we maintain above the 20 exponential moving average, or at the very least maintain above the 50 simple moving average itself. So both of which, in my opinion, will be bullish. So on ASHR, on the China side of things, China market it definitely does look a little bit more towards the bearish side. In terms of selling out my position, the answer is no. I'm still long-term bullish in terms of China capital markets, although I do understand it's going to be more volatile. So that is something you have to take into consideration if you do want to invest in China market itself, especially when the government does play a very critical role in terms of how well they are doing, and they can very impact in terms of the recent case on how they can impact in terms of private tuitions and stuff like that. Sorry. So yeah, and then we move over to KWAP itself, which we have broke below all the major support itself, and potentially we are going to revisit this key monthly horizontal support, which was actually heavily supported into 2018 itself before we actually have to bounce towards the upside. So yes, without a doubt, I'm currently in a major loss in terms of KWAP, but just purely in terms of KWAP itself. So overall, my portfolio still have a good portion of US market, which is why I keep it balanced in that sense. So portfolio-wise, I always comes in a sort of a balanced kind of a structure, whereas in terms of my trading asset, then that's very different itself. All right, so potentially if we do see bounce drop further over there, we could potentially see further support over there, or we could also potentially find support over here. As you can see, purely based on price action on these particular candlesticks here, there is some form of support, especially if you see the spike in terms of volume, which was very high itself. So that's something to bear in mind. All right, and finally, let's move over to Bitcoin itself. All right, so for Bitcoin itself, things looks to be really strong. We have bounced off from the 50 simple moving average on the weekly chart, and it seems that we have a strong potential to close above the 20 exponential moving average on the weekly chart itself. So that would be a great shift, because previously the 20 exponential moving average has been a strong support and catalyst to this upside. So even if we were to close bullish, I do see a potential retest of the 20 exponential moving average. It doesn't have to retest it directly like what you see over here. It could come very close, somewhat like here like that. So what I do see is potentially we could have this very strong bullish towards the upside of things, and then we consolidate for a couple of weeks and then try a attempt, and then if we do retest it and find some support, that would be great. Otherwise it could be repetition of something like this, and then we could continue towards the upside before we find some support moving on here and there. So there's a potential likelihood that could come, but I'm not saying that it definitely has come, could come, and it could definitely change in terms of sentiment very quickly just as well. Especially if you look in terms of daily chart itself, we've been having green candlestick for the past 10 days, which is definitely one of the longest streak that you can have in terms of Bitcoin in the daily chart itself. So without a doubt, we've been relatively bullish for the past 10 days itself, closing on a green candlestick, meaning to say if you were to buy on the open and sell on the close, you will definitely be having in terms of profit almost every single day. Even for this day itself, is almost near break even in that perspective. So I do hope that we could actually see some sort of pullback, but weak pullback would be the key thing to see. So if today, for example, we close with a weak pullback with a red candlestick itself, and tomorrow we can still continue to push towards the upside, closing the weekly candle with a very nice green candlestick itself, it will be a really good sign moving ahead. All right, so on the forward chart, I did mention that there was a potential setup and a buy stop order over here. Well, I forgot to put this buy stop over here. So what you've done, if what I do is I will have put this buy stop over here with this stop loss over there. But if you have failed to put it like me, if I miss it out, I would not chase it and buy it right now. What I'll do is I'll wait for potential retest, but do understand that a retest may not happen. And if it doesn't happen, then I will just miss this trade itself. But if it does happen, retest nicely accordingly to this support at 41K itself, and find support, say even on a shorter time frame, I'll potentially enter a long setup again. So this will be the potential setup that I do see. So do bear in mind that right above here near the 44 to 45K region itself is also near the resistance on the on the daily chart itself, that's the 200 exponential moving average, which is currently around 44.6K itself. So that's something to bear in mind. So if it does hit near and get some sort of rejection, I'll be very likely to close my position, simply because we have not only broke above the 200 exponential moving average, but this is currently testing the 200 simple moving average itself. Yep. So with that said, I've come to the end of today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop by your comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.